What's up? Coach Oyama here. I have a passion to help you specialize in math. All my coaching free, all you gotta do and then my resume. Never done what I have done in stuff. Let's get a here. Tracer, Ilios, gm1. I recognize any of the players here. Honest, must be East Coast servers. Let's
now arriving at Ilios, ready for battle.
Get right into it. So let's go ahead and find the team starting. Before the point unlocks, you guys have Ball, Genji, Curie, Brig. Okay. Interesting team comp, and then they have Widow, Tracer, Brian on a Brig. So immediately, if we were just looking at the two team comps, you guys are way more mobile than the enemies. The only oddity in your team comp is a Brigitte. If you had a Lucio instead of Brigitte, then it would be an obvious win condition of diving. So I think for you, it's going to be a lot of forcing them to not play together. That makes sense. Say, well, frames are good. Pull back. Now let me go ahead and see what's going on here in the pre-fight. I think initially off the bat. Oh, okay. You're on the Rhine comp. So your win con is just going to be brawling in, holding space. Why am I on 60? Something. Oh, stuff I'm like. Where's it overheated? Never know. Let me look at I'm gonna look at the pre-fight we're doing in the setup. I think you said something about marking Tracer, but here even better if you can mark the ball. Or yeah, when it's obvious, marking the ball is a bit better than marking the Tracer because it has more effects. Get a kill on the Brig. I noticed that you're not focusing the same targets as your team right now. So if I'm looking back here, like, who does your Widow shoot? If she's shooting targets or your supports are calling targets, it's much easier to shoot targets. Also, if you get one kill, if your team is up one and their tank is overextended like he is right here, it's much easier to go for the tank. So you guys get the kill. Much easier to go for the tank instead of going for the side 1v1 because it's making use of your numbers advantage. So I mean, Ryan does kind of troll here. I don't know what he's doing, but if you're pressuring out the ball and then your team just walks forward slowly, there's nothing that they can do, and then you just win the point, and then they have to retake. It'll provide a bit more consistency. The reason that you should be marking on the sides would be either it's a good 1v1 for you, or you're preventing them from engaging onto your supports, or disrupting your main tank. Otherwise, they really want those 1v1s because their team comp is much more equipped to deal with it, or assist their DPS and win the 1v1s and win space through kill pressure. But more so your team has, if we're looking at like the strengths of your team composition, standing still is a really good strength. So instead of diving their backline here, because they're always going to be able to peel, because they have lots of mobility and your healers won't be able to be as flexible when it comes to following up, on the initiations with you. If you can just mark the ball and disable him. Okay, so like into this defense here. Number one thing would be, as long as you keep the Tracer at bay, you don't have to be killing her. If you're marking the ball here, because I feel like you're putting a lot of energy into perhaps killing this Tracer, whereas if you're marking the ball here, then there's actual like kill pressure for your team. It plays into your team's. Okay. Let's see how you play this. Again, on that defense there, I would much rather see you marking the ball and keeping the Tracer at bay at the same time. Of course, prioritizing the Tracer, but instead of going for kill pressure on the enemy team, because they're always going to be able to peel, it would be more so mark the ball and make sure that he never gets any value. Because the only way that their team pushes through is if the ball makes space. Otherwise, they'll never ever be able to get a dive onto your backline without the ball. Or your backline, or disrupt your Rhine in the first place, and your Rhine will just be able to hold space forever. Into the attack though, I think it's a good idea to hold the attention of the enemy DPS. If you can also mark ball, that'd be great, but as long as you're holding the attention of the supports and the enemy DPS here, your team should be able to walk really easily. Ooh, that was a tragedy. Here, I feel like we need to work on the pulses a little bit. You have the right idea, but it's about landing the pulses. It'll make a big difference. Skirmishes. It says scared. Yeah, I feel like the entire time there's not much that you could have done other than just hard focusing the break, making sure that you killed the break before the Tracer. It's really, you're never going to be able to kill a Tracer if she has a break next to her. One pack and it's like impossible. Going to the defense. You're marking. Oh, you guys have a hog now, so you don't even have to look at the ball. It's much easier on your team if you still look at the ball, because your team pump still doesn't have. Oh wait, no, they're on a reason. Okay. Oh, and you guys are on Sombra now too. I didn't even pay attention to any of the swaps. Yeah, I feel like you're spending a lot of time on this Orisa, which is good when she was hacked, but as soon as she's not hacked here, you spend a lot of time AFKing on the side, and you're on a good off angle to be able to set up for the hack, but then, I don't know, either the hack never comes through again, or you're like not playing with your team and you're trying to mark the Orisa, but the Orisa's ending up like just marking you more than you're marking yourself here. So if you can instead look for kill pressure on one of their backline or their DPS, and just not do that to the Orisa, that'd be great.
Ready.
Okay, so you guys are on. Kind of awkward with the Ana on this map. Be a lot easier with Kiri, but okay. One thing I noticed is you're already fully out of blinks when a hack hasn't even come out yet. So to play smart here, the higher you go, the more smart you're gonna need to play. But the smart thing to do is just play for hack, because if you try to brawl into them, they just have more resources. But if you have a hack and you brawl in, then there's like a flaw in their team composition of they're not able to peel as hard as you guys can deal damage to them when they're hacked. This initiation is pretty good because you have a clear opening. You can apply kill pressure, and now they have to trade a lot of resources, and the fight just, they don't have enough resources to deal with like your Ana and everything else. Oh, ouch. Okay. Assuming you guys don't even get a single, based off of the time left, you guys don't get a single touch. Okay, going into this fight, I like that you're pressuring the monkey. Pretty good decision. Oh my god, you actually get that pulse. Okay, and your Ana just dies. And sometimes you can't win them all, but there's a hack target in the back. You're focusing the front line rather than the hack target. Pretty sure there was, right? No, that was a health pack. I wonder how many enemies hacked your Sombra has. The one thing I want to mention about your micro, I feel like it's a bit inefficient, and then you're missing a lot of sprays because you're shaking a lot. Which, I mean, it's not a bad thing to shake, but your accuracy is going down. I feel like if you cleaned up the aim a little, okay, but the game ends it like you tell me. But in your 1v1s, for example, let's go to the 1v1 with the Tracer. I feel like you shake yourself up instead of properly shooting the Tracer, I guess. And then the reason why I'm saying this, yeah, like right here, you should have killed this Tracer. 3.25 it. I don't think this Tracer was getting any healing, and she was 79 health. Yeah, and it was just your jittery aim where, I mean, that could just be an accuracy issue because she is strafing, but I don't know, she was kind of moving in a straight line at you. And then the same thing back here when you were fighting the Brig. It was just a standoff between you and the Brig towards the last fight. Second to last fight. Where's it? How did it switch to the other Tracer? Was I watching that Tracer the entire time? No, I was not. What? Okay. But the standoff with the enemy Brig, where you definitely could have killed her. I have no idea where that is. But I feel like having the discipline to know when having shaky aim and movement is okay versus calming down your aim and movement and actually securing a kill is going to be pretty important. Yeah, it's hard to talk about macro and not mention the mistakes of your teammates. So at this high of a level, I feel like you didn't make too many macro mistakes. Other than the couple of things that I mentioned were on attack and defense your priorities of who you should be shooting to play like in stream with your team, to play in sync with your team. And then how you can best switch up so then you can provide your team value on a solo play rather than waiting for your team. But over here, I think it was this. Yeah, where you're shooting the Brig here. You mark out the Tracer, and then you're shooting the Brig. And this Brig should have died. Okay, you melee... You blink meleeed instead of when she wasn't at a killable health, rather than blinking to the side and forcing her shield and then blink meleeing her. Or reloading, blinking to the side and then killing her. I mean, in the end, you got it. Small deviant, whatever. I don't have too much to add to VOD, to be honest. Your teammates played like shit, to be honest. Yeah, so I think mostly micro, where it's like increase your lethality in the 1v1s and know when to calm down in your 1v1s. Because when no one else is looking at you other than the enemy DPS, you don't have to be so shaky. And also your pulse bomb accuracy can be greatly improved. So, I mean, I can write those out, but like my epic pen launch. One would be like prio, 2 would be like shaky aim and movement, controlled, and then 3 would be your pulse bomb. Because if I'm correct, you didn't get a stick this game, which it should be really easy to get a stick on a break, unless she's like top 500 really good brig player. Brig players are very overvalued when it comes to SR, and if you're not in like the highest levels of GM, brig players are kind of just ass. And speaking from experience, I also play brig and I'm pretty ass at the game. And so if you're a decent tracer who can just get a pulse on a break, it's pretty easy. You just got to get around the shield and then pulse her, and it's way easier than you think as soon as you get the tech. But the guaranteed kills with the pulse bomb, or more consistent kills with the pulse bomb, are going to be very valuable. Yeah, I think that's it. Good luck in your next games. Yeah, this replay wasn't very insightful, but hopefully I